Hello everyone, this is William Armstrong with a video on KrebsOnSecurity.com about recent MFA bombing attacks targeting Apple users. Several Apple customers recently reported being targeted in elaborate phishing attacks that involve what appears to be a bug in Apple's password reset feature. In this scenario, a target's Apple devices are forced to display dozens of system-level prompts to prevent the devices from being used until the recipient responds to allow or don't allow to each prompt. Assuming the user manages to not fat finger the wrong button on the umpteenth password reset request, the scammers will then call the victim while spoofing Apple support in the caller ID, saying the user's account is under attack and that Apple support needs to verify one-time code. Parth Patel is an entrepreneur who is trying to build up a startup in the conversational AI space. On March 23rd, Patel documented on Twitter X a recent phishing campaign targeting him that involved what is known as a push bombing or MFA fatigue attack, wherein the phishers abuse a feature or weakness of multi-factor authentication MFA system in a way that inundates the target's devices with alerts to approve a password change or login. All of my devices started blowing up. My watch, laptop, and phone, Patel told Krypton Security. It was like the system notification from Apple to approve a reset of the account password, but I couldn't do anything else with my phone. I had to go through and decline like 100 plus notifications. Ouch. Some people confronted with such a deluge may eventually click allow to the incessant password reset prompts just so they can use their phone again. Others may inadvertently approve one of these prompts, which will also appear on the user's Apple Watch if they have one. But the attackers in this campaign had an ace up their sleeves. Patel said after denying all the password reset prompts from Apple, he received a call on his iPhone that said it was from Apple support. The number displayed was 1-800-275-2273, Apple's real support line. And pick up the phone, and I'm super suspicious, Patel recalled. So I asked him if I can verify some information about me, and after hearing some aggressive typing on his end, he gives me all of this information about me, and it's totally accurate. All that is except his real name. Patel said that when he asked for the fake Apple support rep to validate the name they had on their file for Apple's account, on the Apple account, the caller gave a name that was not his, but rather one that Patel has only seen in the background reports about him that are for sale at a people search website called People Data Labs. Patel said he has worked fairly hard to remove information from multiple people search websites, and he found that People Data Labs uniquely and consistently listed this inaccurate name as an alias on his consumer profile. For some reason, People Data Labs has three profiles that come up when you search for my info, and two of them are mine, but one is an elementary school teacher from the Midwest. Patel said I asked them to verify my name, and they said Anthony. Patel said the goal of the voice fishers is to trigger an Apple ID reset code to be sent to the user's device, which is a text message that includes a one-time password. If the user supplies that one-time code, the attackers can then reset the password on the account and lock the user out. They can also then remotely wipe all the user's Apple devices. Uh-oh. The phone number is key. Chris is a cryptocurrency hedge fund owner who asked that his only first name be used so as not to paint a bigger target on himself. Chris told Krebs on Security he experienced a remarkably similar phishing attempt in late February. The first alert I got hit don't allow, but then right after I got like 30 more notifications in a row, Chris said. I figured maybe I sat on my phone weird or was accidentally pushing some button that was causing these, so I just denied them all. Chris said that the attackers persisted hitting his device with the reset notifications for several days after that, and at one point he received a call on his iPhone that said it was from Apple support. I said I would call them back and hung up, Chris said, demonstrating the proper response to such unbidden solicitations. When I called back to the real Apple, they couldn't say whether anyone had been in a support call with me just then. They just said that Apple states very clearly they will never initiate outbound calls to customers unless the customer requests to be contacted. Massively freaking out that someone was trying to hijack his digital life, Chris said that he changed his password and then went to an Apple store and bought a new iPhone. From there, he created a new Apple iCloud account using a brand new email address. Chris says that he proceeded to get even more system alerts on his new iPhone and iCloud account, all the while still sitting at the local Apple Genius Bar. Chris told Krebs in Security his Genius Bar tech was mystified about the source of the alerts, but Chris said he suspects that whatever the phishers are abusing to rapidly generate these Apple system alerts requires knowing the phone number on file for the target's Apple account. After all, this was only the aspect of Chris's new iPhone and iCloud account that hadn't changed. Watch out. Ken is a security industry veteran who spoke on condition of anonymity. Ken said he first began receiving these unsolicited system alerts on his Apple devices earlier this year, but that he has not received any phony Apple support calls as others have reported. This recently happened to me in the middle of the night at 12:30 a.m., Ken said, and even though I have my Apple Watch set to remain quiet during the time I'm usually sleeping at night, it woke me up with one of these alerts. Thank God I didn't press allow, which was the first option shown on my watch. I had to scroll the watch wheel to see and press the don't allow button. Ken didn't know when it was all this was happening, and it's not obvious from the Apple prompts, but clicking allow would not have allowed the attackers to change Ken's password. Rather, clicking allow displays a 6-digit PIN that must be entered on Ken's device, allowing Ken to change his password. It appears these rapid password reset prompts are being used to make a subsequent inbound phone call spoofing Apple more believable. Ken said he contacted the real Apple support and was eventually escalated to a senior Apple engineer. The engineer assured Ken that turning on an Apple recovery key for his account would stop the notifications once and for all. A recovery key is an optional security feature that Apple says helps improve the security of your Apple ID account. It is a randomly generated 28-character code, and when you enable a recovery key, it is supposed to disable Apple's standard account recovery process. The thing is, enabling is not a simple process, and if you ever lose that code in addition to all of your Apple devices, you'll be permanently locked out. Ken said he enabled a recovery key for his account as instructed, but that it hasn't stopped the unbidden system alerts from appearing on all of his devices every few days. Krebs and Security tested Ken's experience and confirmed that enabling a recovery key does nothing to stop a password reset prompt from being sent to associated Apple devices. Visiting Apple's Forgot Password page at https://iforgot.apple.com asks for an email address and the visitor to solve a captcha. After that, the page will display the last 2 digits of the phone number tied to Apple account. Filling in the missing digits and hitting submit on that form will send a system alert whether or not the user has enabled an Apple recovery key. Rate limits. What sanely designed an authentication system would send dozens of requests for a password change in the span of a few months when the first requests haven't been even acted on by the user. Could this be a result of a bug in Apple systems? Apple has not yet responded to requests for comment. Throughout 2022, a criminal hacking group known as Lapsus used MFA bombing to great effect in the intrusions at Cisco, Microsoft, and Uber. In response, Microsoft began enforcing MFA number matching, a feature that displays a series of numbers to user attempting to log in with their credentials. These numbers must be entered into the account's owner Microsoft Authenticator app on their mobile device to verify they're logging into the account. Keyshawn Bagarla is a hobbyist security researcher and engineer who founded the website Text.com, now owned by Automatic, and he's convinced that Apple has a problem on its end. In August 2019, Bagaria reported to Apple a bug that allowed an exploit he dubbed AirDOS because it could be used to let an attacker instantly spam all nearby iOS devices with a system-level prompt to share a file via AirDrop, a file-sharing capability built into Apple products. Apple fixed that bug nearly 4 months later in December 2019, but thanking Bagaria and the Associated Security Bulletin. Bagaria said Apple's fix was to add stricter rate limiting on Apple AirDrop requests, and he suspects that someone has figured out a way to bypass Apple's rate limit on how many of these password reset requests can be sent in a given time frame. I think this could be a legit Apple rate limit bug that should be reported, Bagaria said. What can you do? Apple seems requires a show number to be on your file for your account, but after you set up the account, it doesn't have to be a mobile phone number. Krebs on security testing shows Apple accept a VoIP number like Google Voice, so changing your account phone number to a VoIP number that isn't widely known would be one mitigation here. One caveat with the VoIP number idea: unless you have included a real mobile number, Apple's iMessage and FaceTime applications will be disabled with that device. This might be a bonus to those concerned about reducing the overall attack surface of their Apple devices, since zero-click, 0 days and these applications have repeatedly been used by spyware purveyors. It also appears that Apple's password reset system will accept and respect email aliases, adding a plus character after the username portion of your email address, followed by a notation specific to the site you're signing up at, lets you create an infinite number of unique email addresses tied to the same account. For instance, if I was signing up at example.com, I might give my email address as krebsonsecurityplusexample@gmail.com. Then I simply go back to my inbox and create a corresponding folder called example along with a new filter that sends all my email address to that alias to the example folder. In this case, however, perhaps a less obvious alias than plus Apple would be advisable. Well, that's all I have to say, and this is the end of the video, but scammers are heavily abusing the Apple MFA, multi-factor or two-factor authentication prompts like crazy. They're abusing it. They're spamming it like crazy towards people to get into their accounts illegitimately by spamming multiple requests all at once. Hitting allow will eventually allow the scammers to take over, locking regular users out of their Apple account, but the spammers or the scammers in this matter are spamming that prompt multiple times and pretending to be Apple support. But see you next time. Bye bye.